Oh, hello. I didn't see y'all there today. Well, since you're here, and I guess you just came in as I was in the shower. So, luckily you got here when I got dressed. Um, well, I guess since you're here, we can go ahead and start with Season 1, Episode 1 of Racker's Reviews. You're in luck. I've got some stuff to review for y'all today. Now, here's how Racker's Reviews works. Basically, I'm going to review movies or books or CDs or albums or whatever you want to call them, and I'm just going to give you my opinion on them and let y'all know what I think. I think it'll be fun. I think y'all will enjoy it. So, I rented some Redbox movies last night. One was very good and one was terrible. I didn't even get through the second one. But to do those Redbox movies, first we got to talk about G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra. Because the first movie I watched from Redbox last night was G.I. Joe Retaliation. So I figured we'd start with Rise of Cobra, which I thought was a very solid movie. Good actors, fairly good acting. Marlon Wayans is an action hero. You can take it or leave it, but I thought he was pretty good. Channing Tatum was decent in it. You got the man, Ray Parks, as Snake Eyes, so you get some serious actual ass-kicking going on there. What I didn't like about G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, was basically Cobra Commander in it. At first he looks like Dr. Mindbender, and it's kind of confusing. And then all of a sudden, he puts on what is best qualified to be called a scuba diving suit, and he becomes Cobra Commander, and he looks pretty ridiculous for real. But I did like all the cheesiness in the movie with the lines with Kung Fu Grip and knowing is half the battle and things like that. There were some weird parts in it where Duke's kind of like blackmailing G.I. Joe to get in, saying he knows everything about the Baroness, but they continue to look her up on the computer anyway, so, I don't understand that, but otherwise, solid movie. Definitely could have been better, definitely could have been worse. Now, I Redboxed, like I said, G.I. Joe Retaliation. Unfortunately, I don't have the box because I did Redbox it last night, and, definitely a killer movie. Everything that G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra was, and then some. Cobra Commander is actually badass looking, has a really cool plot, some shit Cobra Commander would be into. Snake Eyes is back. You've got Flint in this one, and Lady J, so that's pretty awesome. Bruce Willis actually plays the original G.I. Joe, Joe Coltrane, so that's pretty badass. And as far as the bad guys, you get Storm Shadow back, and it explains how kind of he lived through his battle in Rise of Cobra. And you've got Firefly in this one. And Firefly I thought was a badass character from the cartoon, and I was glad to see him as a villain in this movie. Just overall a badass action flick, shoot-'em-up movie that didn't have any of the negatives of G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. Plus, well, I'll tell you anyway, but it's a spoiler alert, people. It's a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it or know anything about G.I. Joe Retaliation, they do kill Duke in about the first half hour or so of the movie, but that just means you don't have to watch Channing Tatum try to act. So, some people might not like that Duke gets killed. I think it worked great for the movie because now they had a reason to go kick Cobra ass. Alright. So the other Redbox movie that I rented last night was called Killing Them Softly. Now, you all may not remember the movie. It looked awesome on the previews. Great actors in it. Brad Pitt, James Gandolfini, Ray Liotta. You can't go with a crew like that, can you? Well, apparently you can. It was terrible. I muddled my way through the first hour of this movie, um, and it was so boring and so just slow and dreadful, and I couldn't do it any longer. I mean, the previews for this movie make it look hilarious. Like it's funny. Like it's a funny shoot 'em up gangster movie where these dumbasses rip off a poker game, and then it looks like it's some funny shit that happens to him. It kind of looks like a Guy Ritchie film, like Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels in the previews. But it was no Guy Ritchie film, folks. This movie stunk up like the Cole County Fair has so many years before it. This was like if Guy Ritchie's retarded brother, like, wrote and directed a movie. Honestly, this movie was so slow, it should have come with a helmet and special shoes. That's how slow this movie was. The movie was so terrible, it was like watching any episode of American Idol. It was that bad. I'm a huge Brad Pitt fan, and a James Gandolfini fan as well. I think he was great, and he should be remembered for more than just The Sopranos. And you would think those two guys would play great off each other. And just the acting was just very stiff, and I do not recommend this. I give it like half a sawed-off shotgun out of 5 sawed-off shotguns. And that is bad, folks. Whereas G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, I give like 3.5 inch G.I. Joe figures. Pretty solid. And G.I. Joe Retaliation, I can definitely say I could give 4 3.5 inch G.I. Joe figures for. Killing Them Softly, yeah, half of 1 sawed-off shotgun on Killing Them Softly. So pass on this movie. Now the Reverend the other day, or I'm used to calling myself the Reverend, it's not a Reverend video, Josh Rackers, the reviewer here, Reverend Rackers, we're going to still call himself the Reverend even though we're not doing Reverend Rackers videos. The Reverend the other day got, it's been a couple weeks, got the new Amon CD called Deceiver of the Gods. I actually spent the extra $1.50 or something and got the special edition. Well worth it. First of all, you get, gotta remember those. First of all, you get the badass Deceiver of the Gods album. Pretty much kick-ass all the way through. There was only 1 song on it that I was like, eh. But badass album, again from Amon who like puts out albums more than Lindsay Lohan puts out her vagina. I mean, these guys really record solid albums, and they do it very frequently. So if you haven't heard of Amon you need to pick this up. And then the second little album that comes with it is awesome. It is basically an Amon thing called Under the Influence. Now, you can't really see it. Maybe this is, yeah, I can pull this out here and show you. Now, if you look at this, it says Amon in a bunch of different styles. You'll know the styles. Motorhead, Judas Priest, AC/DC, and Black Sabbath. So, they're not covering songs from those people. This is an original idea. I think it's awesome. They actually write original songs, and then they do it in that band's style. Like, obviously, Sabbath and AC/DC and Motorhead and Priest. When you hear them, you know that's who they are. Well, Amon actually has written original songs like if they were that band. it's well worth it. It's freaking awesome for real. So when you go buy Deceiver of the Gods, you get this awesome little case. So you can have Undercover and Deceiver of the Gods with the awesome Thor versus Loki artwork on the cover. And you get this cool little case. So check out Amon and definitely check out their new album, Deceiver of the Gods. Now I got one more thing to review for you all today. Just finished with Dan Brown's Inferno. It's his 4th Robert Langdon story, and it was pretty good. I have to say, I do really enjoy Dan Brown's writing. Although he probably should take a break from Robert Langdon and maybe write something different. I know it's a cash cow. Moo, cha-ching, moo, cha-ching, moo, cha-ching. Keep putting up the same crap and the sheep buy it. But it was a solid book. Again, it follows the same format. Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code and the Lost Symbol all follow. Robert Langdon's an American professor. He specializes in symbology and other stuff. And somebody's trying to take over the world or do some fucking messed up stuff. And instead of calling like the police or the government or the CDC or people they should call, they always call Robert Langdon, the American professor, to help them solve the crime. I think the other 3 books were very well written. Da Vinci Code's great. Angels and Demons was pretty good. I really enjoyed The Lost Symbol. Inferno, again, like I said, it pretty much follows that same format. Robert Langdon's looking for clues to figure out where the bad guy's doing stuff, or to stop the bad guy, or to prevent something bad from happening. This one kind of seemed a little rush in the clue aspect, like it wasn't as in-depth as the other 3 books, which kind of bummed me out. But I do think it was a solid book, definitely solid. I guess you could say I could give it a 3.5 symbologists, maybe 4, like 4 weak symbologists. So 3.5 really strong ones, or 4 weak ones. It was well worth the read, and if you like mysteries and whodunits and how you gonna stop it and things like that, you'll like Inferno. Dan Brown, I know you're not gonna be watching this video ever, but let's lay off Robert Langdon for maybe a book or 2 and then come back to him and let's make him fresh again, because I love the Robert Langdon stories, but you're starting to make the same book over and over again. But again, if you like the Robert Langdon stories, definitely a good read. I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying it's about time for Dan to write something different so we can have a good, fresh Robert Langdon story. Now, this week you all heard, that the Reverend, a.k.a. Josh here, is a big Batman fan, huge Batman fan. I even have a Batman cowl over here. I'll show it to you if you want. Actually, when I review the Batman movies, I will probably actually wear the Batman cowl to review the Batman movies. So, look forward to that. But I can't wait to talk about the huge pile of steaming crap that came out a couple days ago on the internet about the new Superman movie and who's going to play Batman in it. I know that sounds confusing, and it is. So they've decided that the next Superman movie is going to have an appearance by Batman. Hopefully it's not a whole movie with Superman and Batman going at it. It'd be nice if it was just like some Bruce Wayne interaction and maybe Batman helping him at the end or something, instead of having a full-fledged Batman versus Superman movie. Because I liked the new Man of Steel. I thought it was awesome. Go see the new Man of Steel. Badass flick. I really like how they did that. Since we're talking about it, um, really good stuff. Really good modern take on the Man of Steel and Superman. It's hard to take that character and make him modern and seem, you know, worthy of this day and age, because all that Boy Scout stuff doesn't apply so much today anymore. It should, but it doesn't. But they really did take a really good take on that movie. Much better than that piece of crap that came out a few years ago, Superman Returns. That was awful. Um, but definitely would recommend seeing that movie. I will review the Superman movies at a later time, but definitely go see The Man of Steel. I'll go ahead and tell you now, I give it 4 flowing red capes, so definitely a good-ass movie. But back to the sequel that they're dropping. They've decided to put Batman in it, and they're going to make a Flash movie later on, and finally, for us fanboys, they're supposed to do a Justice League movie. I'll believe it when I see it, but they're actually going to do a Batman-Superman movie. Came out this week that they want Ben Affleck to be Batman, and I think this is a terrible decision. Anytime an established big actor has played Batman, it's been terrible. George Clooney, terrible Batman. Val Kilmer, half-assed Batman. He wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. I think that had to do with the writing of that movie, but we'll review Batman at a later time. But anytime somebody who is fairly unknown than Batman, it's been great. Michael Keaton was not a huge star when he was Batman. Christian Bale, if you all will remember correctly, was not a huge star when he took over the cowl. He had just done like Equilibrium and The Machinist and American Psycho, so he wasn't a huge actor yet. Those were good movies, but nothing blockbustery. So those two guys came from, you know, B-list celebrities, played Batman and became A-list celebrities. A-list celebrities that play Batman do not do a good job of it. And, I mean, I don't think Daredevil was as bad a film as everybody says it was, but Ben Affleck as Batman, I just don't see it. I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, everybody said Heath Ledger would be a terrible Joker and this and that, and he was amazing. Alright, he was an amazing Joker, but I never said he'd be a terrible Joker. I said I'd have to wait and see on this, on Heath, because I do know he had some acting chops. Ben Affleck, as KY pointed out the other day, is basically the same fucking guy in every movie he's in. He's a pretty boy from Boston, or a douchebag. And, I mean, he is. Every movie, I mean, like Dazed and Confused, he was a douchebag. Mallrats, he was a douchebag. Every other movie, he's just like, hey, look at me, I'm handsome and from Boston. So, I just don't see him as Batman. I give Zack Snyder 0 good ideas out of 5 for his decision for Ben Affleck as Batman. So, I know this point wasn't, I don't know, I kind of like doing this. It gives you my opinion on some stuff. Maybe you'll watch one of these movies, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll read this book or listen to Amon. I hope it was a little funny. I hope it was a little informative. And the Reverend will be back soon, but I'm also going to continue to do these Rackers reviews because I like doing both, and I can do whatever the fuck I want to do because I am Josh Rackers. Good night. Yeah. Aw, yeah. Suck it.